Hi there guys, I hope you are having a good day. Now grab yourself a cup of tea and let's talk some boxing. Daniel Dubois is going to be fighting Bogdan Dinu in his comeback fight. Now this is a good comeback fight, but the thing is Bogdan Dinu is number 2 I believe in the WBA rankings. Actually, you know what, let me just check that, then we can make sure that we are being factual. Anthony Joshua is champion, Trevor Bryan is WBA regular champion, Usyk is number 1, and Bogdan Dinu is, yes, number 2, Wilder number 3, Ortiz number 4, Ruiz number 5, Kalnacki number 6. Yeah, so he's fighting number 2 ranked within the WBA, and it's a good fight, I believe. I mean, Dinu has struggled when he comes up against a higher level opponent. I wouldn't even say world level, because his losses have come against Jarrell Miller and Kubrat Pulev. Kubrat Pulev, I guess you could say, is world level, but I wouldn't really put Jarrell Miller as world level. I wouldn't put him anywhere near that. In fact, in my opinion, he's 0-0. He hasn't won a single fight, in my opinion. But let's not talk about him. Anyway, Dinu is in a position where if Daniel Dubois beats him, he could be higher ranked in that governing body. Now, of course, Usyk is on the WBO route, and he's going to fight Joe Joyce for the interim status. If he wins that, he is WBO interim champion and is guaranteed a shot at Anthony Joshua. So he does not really need his ranking in the WBA for a world title opportunity. If there were to be an eliminator, it would likely be Daniel Dubois versus either Usyk, but then again Usyk is hopefully going to be fighting for the WBO interim status, so therefore he's not really going to want to go and fight an eliminator against Daniel Dubois if he already has that interim status and guaranteed a world title opportunity at Anthony Joshua. So in that case, he won't be fighting Usyk if he were to beat Dinu, and therefore an eliminator ordered. It would likely be Deontay Wilder or Luis Ortiz, maybe Ruiz after his fight with Areola and the rankings change, but still, that's the way it would go. Now, Ruiz, Wilder and Luis Ortiz, is Daniel Dubois ready for those fights? Because it's one thing to have a comeback against someone like Bogdan Dinu, but if he gets into a position where he can fight an eliminator, what does he do? Does he go and fight one of those guys? I mean, as a fighter he should want to, but if you look at it from a managing perspective, if you want Daniel Dubois to develop and be ready for those fights, then you would say no, absolutely not. He should not be fighting Wilder, Ruiz or Ortiz. He's not ready for that, and we got to see that based off of his performance in there with Joe Joyce. Now, I want to give Daniel Dubois all the credit in the world for taking that fight, because he's young, he was undefeated. He was in a position where time was on his side. He could take a few more fights. He did not have to fight Joe Joyce, but he'd done it anyway, and that demands a huge amount of respect. It wasn't a risk that really paid off for him, but you have to respect him at taking the chance, and there is no harm in finding your level at the moment, still being a young man, especially as a heavyweight. He's a young man in boxing, but when you think about heavyweights and how late they develop, then he is years away from being at his very best. This is just a learning opportunity, and it can either make him or break him. If he learns from it, it could be one of the best experiences of his life. Experiences, good or bad, can take you to a place you need to go. That could be the case for Daniel Dubois, and I'm just worried that a Bogdan Dinu fight could put him in a position where he fights an eliminator, and he's almost back to square one. He's got there too quickly once again. Because I believe that the whole point of taking a Joe Joyce fight was to see where his level was and to take that opportunity to see if he could almost run before he could walk, and again, it did not pay off, but then comes the rebuilding stage. Maybe an Areola fight for him would be a good one, maybe even a fight with, say, Charles Martin. That would be a good one. Those are the type of fights he needs. Helenius as well, Adam Kalnacki. Those fights will get him ready for that next step, but going Bogdan Dinu, then a potential fight against Wilder, Luis Ortiz or Andy Ruiz, that is too soon for me. That is, of course, if they do order an eliminator. There is no guarantee that they will, although there will be a WBA mandatory coming soon, because the last one was Alexander Povetkin in 2018. So that WBA mandatory is coming likely next year, and perhaps that will be decided through an eliminator. Unless, of course, they give Trevor Bryan the opportunity to challenge for the Super WBA Championship, considering he is WBA regular champion, although they did not do that with Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin was not WBA regular champion when he challenged Anthony Joshua, As a WBA Super Mandatory Challenger, he did not fight for that WBA regular status before facing Anthony Joshua to get that opportunity. The same may apply with Trevor Bryan, although perhaps he will get the opportunity. In that case, it's a very smart move by Frank Warren and Daniel Dubois and his management team to get back up there, but still, those learning fights still need to be there, and he needs to bridge that gap to get to the next level. It's not like he's up against the clock, he has plenty of time to develop. I would like to see Daniel Dubois get to work around domestic level a bit, but then move on to European and then world level. I think that many do look past the British level, European level, then go to world level. That was something that worked back in the day. It doesn't seem to be something they do so much now. They seem to kind of develop and then try and go straight for a world championship opportunity. He has become a British champion, and he did challenge for the European title against Joe Joyce, but came up short. So that means that he does need to go back to the drawing board and rebuild once again. So maybe a Bogdan Dinu fight, maybe even a Hughie Fury fight after that would be a good fight for him to take. Otto Wallin is around there as well, just had a good win over Dominic Brazil. There is also Pulev, I guess, could be a good opportunity, coming off of a loss to Anthony Joshua, and maybe not the fighter he once was. So that would be a good learning fight for Daniel Dubois. Ajit Kabayel, undefeated, not a world beater, but again, an undefeated fighter who could give him some good learning rounds in that contest. I believe Daniel Dubois beats him. And who knows, after 2 or 3 fights, maybe even 4, developing for Daniel Dubois, imagine Dubois versus Ruiz, or Wilder, or even Luis Ortiz. Luis Ortiz probably won't be around then. But anyway, Ruiz, Wilder, great fights for Daniel Dubois to be in. Daniel Dubois versus Wilder would be such an entertaining fight because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't really know what is going to happen whenever Wilder steps in the ring, but it is again whether he wants to take that kind of fight. Dubois though, if he gets back to winning ways and has the right fights at the right time, then he can definitely be a force in the heavyweight division. A very smart move from Frank Warren and his team to fight number 2 ranked in the WBA, but it's still Bogdan Dinu. So it's a good comeback fight, but it gets him back up the rankings if he is able to win, which of course he should do. I just hope that when he gets into that position, he still can have the right fights to get him ready for that step up once again. Now, Daniel Dubois did touch on his Joe Joyce fight, and obviously he has now moved trainers to Mark Tibbs, and I think that Mark Tibbs is a very good decision for him because I like what he'd done with Dillian Whyte, so that was a good move. He did say that there was no real game plan going into the Joe Joyce fight, which is kind of alarming, but I mean, Joe Joyce was extremely experienced, and what he'd done would have been very difficult for a young, inexperienced fighter like Daniel Dubois to navigate, and without a game plan, it made it very difficult for him. I mean, I don't know how spot on that is, you have to hear it from both parties. I mean, that's Daniel Dubois saying that Martin Bowers didn't really have a game plan for him, but you have to hear it from both perspectives. So, given that, it just didn't come together for Daniel Dubois, and the reason why is he wasn't ready really for that step up. He didn't have that in-between fight. Sam Jones explained in the build-up, you haven't had the in-between fight. Now Daniel Dubois countered by saying, this is that in-between fight, and Sam Jones kind of clowned him and said, no it's not, you're having your step up now. And he was right. Daniel Dubois did not have that in-between fight that could get him ready for Joe Joyce. That is why he lost, so it is down to the management side as well as the training side not having the right fights at the right time. Hopefully though, they get that right this time around. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, also leave a like and grab that subscribe button. Thanks guys.